just found out about love, and I like it. I like it. I like what love has been doing to me. I hold you close in my arms, and I like it. I like it. Oh, what a wonderful future I see. It's a one time only. It's a life.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Living Arts. I'm your host, Jackie Suarez. Thank you for tuning in. We have a terrific show for you this evening. We have Tom Van Buren from ArtsWestchester. He is the performing arts producer, and we're going to be talking about the New Urban Jazz music series. And we also have famed drummer, jazz musician, Tony Jefferson, who will be sitting in on the interview with us. Welcome to the show, guys. How are you?
Great. Good.
So, this New Urban Jazz series, we had Bob Baldwin on the show, and he spoke a little bit about it. But tell us from the ArtsWestchester perspective how you came to pick on that type of music and do this, the smooth jazz.
Mm-hmm. Well, the series has been evolving kind of organically over the last 4 years. This is the third year that we've used that title, which is actually his title. He has a radio production that he does at a number of stations, mostly in the South and on the internet. And he's was kind of trying to define where jazz, or part of it is these days, kind of with the hearkening back to the era of the fusion jazz and what he calls a sort of I guess on
jazz
the easier
fusion
listening side. Mm-hmm. And there are not any radio stations now in the New York area presenting that. So that's part of his focus. But working with Bob is great. He's a very creative thinker, and he's very good at promotion and thinking through the process of presenting the music. And he's very conscientious about promoting all the concerts, not just the ones that he's been involved in, but in collaborating with other artists and producers. And so it's been interesting working with him. He first performed, I think 4 or 5 years ago at the ArtsWestchester, which was the Westchester Arts Council officially at that time. And in a concert of his own, I think it was a tribute to his father, who was also a piano player and great musician. And then we applied for a grant from the New York State Council on the Arts through the presenting program, which is basically the one that assists with concert productions, and devised a series that featured Porter Carroll, the singer, Wali Ali, the son-in-law of Ozzie Davis and Ruby Dee, and some other musicians that he's worked with, like Reagan Whiteside, the flutist. And the grant, we were successful in getting a little funding. It was not very much, and we stretched it as far as we could to produce 6 different concerts. And one of the ones we added towards the end of the planning process was Dennis Bell and Lynette Washington, who have a great CD out now from their last performance last year. Anyway, so we put together 6 concerts in the first year, and then last year we did a series with 5. And there are 4 this year. They're no less significant, but we're trying to work it into the schedule and within the budget what we can do.
Yep. So. It sounds like you're doing a fantastic job. I mean, just bringing, I know it's not easy in this economic environment to have funding for the type of programming you'd like to have. But from your website is wonderful. You can get some more information about this through www.artswestchester.org.
That's right.
And what do you have coming up in the future?
Well, we're just about to kick off the jazz series. We've just been doing 3 of 4 dance programs. We have one more featuring salsa and mambo, which is in the middle of the jazz series, so it kind of fits together well. I can say a little more about that after. But we begin on February 4th with Hiroshi Yamazaki, a great piano player, teacher at the Conservatory of Music in White Plains. And we have 3 other concerts featured. The second is Venice Thomas, soul and R&B singer and daughter of Rufus Thomas from the Memphis tradition. And then we move to Tony Jefferson sings his vocal debut at ArtsWestchester. He's been developing that side of his artistry for some time now. And we've finished the series in the middle of March with John Patitucci, the great bass player, with a trio.
Oh, very nice. So, Mr. Jefferson, you have a CD that's going to be launched shortly, or is it already?
It's already out. It's been out
Released.
since September.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So now this is the first time that you're going to be singing, or that you're singing
It's
on
the first time I've done a record as a vocalist.
Okay.
I've been on many records. See, I'm dating myself. I've many records as a drummer, and it's my new blossoming career as a singer, so to speak.
Okay, so give our audience just a little background on how you got started in music. Did you start with drums, or was it a different instrument?
I started with drums. I'm kind of a dabbler. I play a bunch of different instruments. You never know. I might actually on this concert I might play one of my woodwinds if I'm in shape.
Okay.
But I'm planning on just singing, and I have a great band. Can I introduce? I'd like to mention some of the guys in the band. It's Jay Holgard, who's a great vibes player. James Weidman, great piano player. Richie Goods, who's a fantastic bass player, and Alvesta Garnett. All these on drums. All these guys are just world-class musicians. So I'm honored to be able to work with them.
That sounds really exciting.
Yeah. But I've been a drummer on the scene, on the jazz scene, New York jazz scene for a long time. And in fact, Bob Baldwin and I go back a bunch of years. So many years.
Yeah, so he mentioned that.
Yeah. So
he was actually going to drop by the studio today. But so what? You have some performances besides. You're going to be actually performing with Hiroshi.
Right, I'm playing drums on that gig.
So that was you're just collaborating. Do you normally play with him, or have you played with him?
I've played with him on and off for years. Took me to Japan for my first tour of Japan probably 8 years ago. So I have ongoing relationships with so many different musicians.
Okay.
So and I was going to say the singing started kind of like by mistake, really. I started sitting in a jam sessions and just scat singing for fun. I've played the woodwinds on and off for many years as a hobby, and then I always scat sang just for fun. And so I started sitting in, and people would say, you sound pretty good, and then another person would say, you sound pretty good, and I said, well, I wonder if I learned, what would happen if I learned a couple tunes? So that was about, I guess I started about 5.5 years ago. So it hasn't been long, but I've played with so many people that I feel like I have a head start on a lot of. I feel like I have a big advantage over a lot of people just because I've been in the drummer's chair watching and playing behind so many great musicians and many singers. In fact, tonight I'm going to work with the great singer Annie Ross from Lambert, Hendricks and Ross. I've been working with her for like 4 years.
And where is that going to be?
The Metropolitan Room in the
cool.
city. Yeah.
Nice. So how is that different when you're actually, you're a part of someone else's crew, and then now you also have a performance that you're going to be doing on, let's see here, I think it's the 23rd?
24th.
The 24th,
at
and
the
that's
Bean
the
Runner.
Tony Jefferson Quartet.
Right.
Well, actually, no, part of the New Urban Jazz Series.
Okay.
That date. Actually, I have it here. It is March 3rd.
Okay,
That's
sorry.
Saturday.
Okay.
So you're going to be having, so what's the quartet been doing, or how is that
Okay, these are
different from your other
musicians.
projects?
Okay, these musicians I've worked with in different situations. So I'd say it's different in that I've called these musicians for certain kinds of music I want to do. I mostly do standard. At this point, I'm singing mostly the American Songbook.
Okay.
So, but I'm starting to expand and doing and reaching back to some of my roots. I grew up with R&B first, soul music. That was the first music I heard.
Okay.
So I'm starting to investigate that a little bit more. Mostly, like I said, mostly I do standards and classic Brazilian tunes, and I'm starting to do classic pop tunes, and that encompasses a lot of different things. Like I'm doing a few Beatles tunes. I'm doing some Stevie. I'm doing some Bill Withers. We'll see how much of that I get into this concert, but that's kind of. So I'm mixing it all, And even when I do the jazz, what I say the standards, the American Songbook, I bring in different, like sometimes the grooves will be like funk grooves go into a Latin thing, and sometimes it's very modern or progressive sounding. So these musicians, they're capable of they can do anything. So
That sounds really awesome.
yeah, hope I can keep up with them.
No, I'm sure you will, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I find that, especially, let's talk about just Peekskill area, because you're a Peekskill native. I am. What's the music scene like right now, and what's been going on on the fringes? It seems like it's very hot for some reason right now. There's like a nice congregation of artists that are living here. People are all into going into the studio with various people. We had Fred Gillen on the show. You mentioned that he mastered your CD.
Right.
So what's going on with all you guys?
Well, boy, that's I don't do that many gigs in Peekskill. So I do mostly gigs in the city and on the road.
Okay.
But I do play the Bean Runner. That's one of the places I play in
That's
Peekskill. and that's why I got a little mixed up. I am playing the Beam Runner on the 24th. That's another gig I'm doing with my quartet, but that's a different group as well.
All right, so
But,
then you do your drumming, or you play as a drummer for various artists, and then you have the quartet.
Right.
And
Yeah, so
of
my
course your
quartet,
solo
then I'm
career.
singing in that.
You're a busy guy.
Yeah. And in some groups, I'm in three different groups where I play the drums mostly, and then I'm the featured vocalist.
Okay, what groups are those?
Lately, I've been working. The two that I've been working with mostly is Cameron Brown's Here and Now group with Sheila Jordan and Don Byron, the clarinetist.
Okay.
And then I'm in another group called Paul Baudry and Pathways, and we just came off of a tour for Jazz at Lincoln Center and the State Department. And we were touring all over India and Bangladesh, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan.
I'm over here thinking, the first thing that pops into my mind when I think of the State Department, I was like, how'd you guys get through security? But not so much like, I was like, is it difficult, or, playing at the White House or something like that?
Well, it's difficult.
So you've got security clearance. That's good to know.
Kind of. It's difficult. These days, as all musicians know, it's very difficult traveling. It takes a long time.
Imagine.
Yeah.
So you did mention that gig that you did out in India. What was that like?
It was great. I mean, to travel in any of these places, the appreciation is amazing. I mean, especially in some of these countries, they're very hungry for music, and no, it's just fantastic. I mean, one of the things they had in India. We were laughing about it because there were huge bulletin boards with the bands with our photograph in India, like going down the West Side Highway here. I mean, we were stars there.
Awesome.
And then we come
You're
back
stars
here. Well, we're working on that.
Awesome. I had an opportunity to travel in India, and I felt at that time, it was quite a while ago, about 15 years ago, and you can see like just they're changing their ways and not being so much into, like coming over to Western culture.
Right.
And it was just the beginnings of it, and just pizza,
Right.
in the middle of Gujarati, like Ahmedabad. I was like, what's pizza being sold here?
Right.
So I can imagine what it must be like now.
Yeah, it's one of the guys in the
Being
band.
very westernized.
He lived there many years ago. He lived in Delhi, and there were parts he couldn't recognize. It was so different.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going back. I went to Jaipur and Gujarat.
Okay.
So I think when I go back, I wanted to go out to the Bohemian place, Goa, and do have a little stay there.
Huh.
Have you had an opportunity to travel to India?
I did go there once, 20 years ago, actually 22, just in the north in Delhi and overland from Nepal into Delhi, basically. Just a taste, but we thought this is an incredible country, and would love to be able to go back sometime.
Yeah, very nice. I find, because Bob was mentioning the jazz concert or Woodstock-like festival that happened in Dubai, and I found it very curious that there are all of these fabulous music concerts going on in other countries.
Oh yeah.
Huge festivals that they're investing so much money in.
Yeah.
And I guess you'd be hard-pressed to find, what's comparable to that here, that we have.
It's different.
It's different.
Yeah, why do you think that is?
You probably have more experience. I could speculate. I could get
You start. You start. I'll because I can go for a while.
I mean,
on
in
that
some
one.
certainly in Europe, some places there's certainly a lot more public funding for the arts.
Okay.
Here, what we have is very small token amounts, and most of the big things that happen have to be commercial and commercially funded,
Right.
and that affects very much what kind of art is presented.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There tends to be an emphasis much more on commercial music. So I think you go to a place like that, like some of these countries, and we're exotic because it's different. They don't get that every day. They don't get it. Like when I was on this tour, we did workshops as well as concerts, and it was just wonderful. I mean, the workshops, the people were so hungry. And after every one of the workshops, at the end, we had to spend time with. I mean, we spent like an hour after every workshop and almost every gig signing autographs or just giving giving lessons on our instruments.
Wow.
I remember after one concert, I was giving this one student a lesson on the stage because the drums were broken down. He was so hungry. He's like, "No, you got to show me something." I'm like, "Okay, here we go." This guy's not gonna let me go if I don't show him something. But it's wonderful. I mean, it's nice to get that. And I don't feel like it's. I think that you can find that here too, but not at the same level. I mean, I think it's exposure. I think that if more people were exposed, just like Lee Morgan, great trumpet player, said years ago, if there was more exposure to the music. How often do you really see jazz on TV? You don't see it that often.
That's true. I love jazz, I would definitely invest in something like in the summer music concert series down by the water or something like that. And I think, as far as overseas, maybe jazz is exploding on their scene as if we're just coming up. So whereas maybe back in the 50s when jazz, didn't start in the 50s, but where it was more popular, now it's their 50s musically. Like now jazz is something that's new to them.
Kind of.
Certain artists are new.
Yeah. There's some of that. I mean, because it's changed. It's changed a little bit. I think that it's still there's still a hunger for it. They have a lot of popular music there too. I heard some of the worst popular music I've ever heard in India.
Like,
no, I don't know who they were, but in Bangladesh too, we were sometimes in the traveling. We were like, okay, can you shut this off, please? Some of the worst,
I hate to
disco
single anyone out, but
yeah.
like some pop artist that plays constantly over the radio, and that's probably what you were exposed to. It's like
they're local pop artists.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, India certainly has a huge burgeoning film and film music industry, and it's all there too.
Right, one of the emerging economies.
Mm-hmm.
So tell our audience, I guess in a nutshell, what they can experience or what we have to offer, what you've got to offer at ArtsWestchester, and ways to contact you.
Yeah, sure. Well, let me just frame this a little bit by saying ArtsWestchester is the County Arts Council, despite its new shorter name that begins with A and places us a little better in the alphabet. It is a support and service organization to promote arts and culture all over Westchester County. The gallery that's in the ground floor of our building on the corner of Martine and Mamaroneck Avenues in White Plains it's a multi-arts venue. So it's a showcase for visual arts. It's a place for events to happen, lectures, discussions, film showings, occasional press conferences. When, like this Friday, we're announcing our grants in the morning. And over the last 5 years, we've also developed it as a concert venue, which has had some challenges because it is a former bank building. So it has big glass windows and a marble floor and a very high ceiling. So from an acoustic standpoint, that could be quite problematic, yes. But we've mitigated that quite a bit.
Especially as a drummer.
Yeah, especially for drums. We cover the windows with shades that come down. We've added carpeting that we can put in temporarily to muffle the sound a little bit and control it, and drapes behind the band and this was all done with the encouragement of Bob Baldwin. He was very determined to push this through, and we made it a part of our fundraising in the first year of our series together.
Oh, terrific.
And we improved the sound system. So it's it's actually become a friendly room for music. The more acoustic, the better. I mean, we do feature some electric instruments, but in general, we try to mix to the level of the drums and no higher. We're not trying to blast people out of their seats. Right. We're trying to present all music tastefully in an enjoyable way in a setting where people can feel very close to the musicians and certainly free to come up and talk to them on the breaks and afterwards. We've also featured a very interesting series of dance programs in the last 2 months. In fact, just finishing with a Cajun dance event with Jesse Leger and Bayou Brew. Jesse comes right from Louisiana, but he spends part of the year up here, and it was a very appreciative crowd that came out.
Nice. So there's no mosh pit?
There isn't a mosh pit, although our tango night was a little bit like that.
We won't see Tony on people just, doing
we'll see. You never know.
Crowd surfing.
Could be
never
a first.
know,
Anyway, so yeah, we look forward to welcoming people there. They can find information about all our concerts at the website, which www.artswestchester.org. And you can go to the individual concert listings by searching by date or by the name of the artist or by the venue. And you can buy tickets online. Our website, if you go there, you'll notice that it features hundreds of different programs and events because it is a central cultural clearinghouse of information for the whole county. So sometimes people get a little lost in there, but if you can handle Google, you can handle our website.
I spent some time on there over these past couple of days, and it's actually quite informative. There are many, many free programs that are offered. It's definitely something to check out. You want to support the artists that live here in Westchester, events that are happening here, because if not, then I think they might go away, and you don't want that. So we want to support ArtsWestchester as much as possible. Mr. Jefferson, tell us where. You have something you're going to be performing on the 3rd with the New Urban Jazz Series at ArtsWestchester on the 24th. You have a
performance at the Beam Runner.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and where can we find you?
You can find me at TonyJeffersonMusic.com.
And you're also on MySpace.
Yeah, I've been there for a while.
No, okay.
Yeah,
Because I think so. That's all the information about how to purchase your CDs and.
The website is the best way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Terrific.
I don't know how much longer MySpace is going to be doing stuff.
Really?
You know.
Did something happen? Haven't heard about it.
No. I mean, less people seem to be, going to MySpace.
Okay, because I think when you just Google someone or Google an artist,
Yeah.
I think that normally pops up because just of the way that you're able to hear music on.
Right.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
So you heard it here first. There's a problem with MySpace, everybody.
Well, it may be just not winning the war with Facebook. That's the
Yeah, I think that's the
the
deal.
big problem.
Yeah.
Well, gentlemen, I thank you for coming to Living Arts. It's been a pleasure talking to both of you. We will be supporting. I hope everyone here will be supporting the programs that are at ArtsWestchester and looking up my friend Tony Jefferson. Stay tuned. We're going to be showing you some footage from the series.